Yo, 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 yo. This is your girl, Isis Wisdom of the Isis Wisdom Show. And that is my DJ Needles on the ones and twos. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? How y'all doing tonight? What's going on, Needles? How you doing?
I see. How are you? I'm the only one that could call her that. You clear? Only one that could call her that. Mm-hmm.
You're crazy. I'm glad that there's so many of you here tonight. I really appreciate you guys for tapping in. There's quite a few of you on this live. And I got some very special guests on my show that I'm really looking forward to bringing on the show. And we're going to talk about the 2020 predictions of the winners, the 2020 and 21 predictions of the winter solstice. Okay? But we're going to start first with the solar eclipse that's coming. So I got some really cool guests who I'm currently adding into the stream right now. We got my girl, the Hungry Medium, also known as Kateria. We have Tiye Phoenix. We also have the Global Black Girl. What's going on, ladies?
Hello.
Hey.
How you guys doing?
How are
So
you?
good. So
Doing
good.
well. Excited to be here.
Glad to hear. Glad to hear. And so, I'm so glad, Ty, you and I, we did a little brief touch on it last night when I invited you onto my live, and that live was really dope. I want to say thank you very much for coming on to the IG live last night and dropping the science. But now we're going to go hard body today.
Yeah.
We're going to go hard body today.
That's right.
Okay? So, first the first person I'm going to call on is the Hungry Medium, also known as Kateria. Kateria, could you please give us a brief bio about who you are, please?
Thank you for having me on here. I think this is an amazing experience. The technology is awesome. My name is Kat Nyambi, also known as the Hungry Medium. You might hear some interference in the background because that's Yemoja and her waves while I sit here in Jamaica.
I just muted everybody else out. Go ahead. I think I muted you out by accident. Go ahead.
So, am I good? Can you still hear
me?
Oh, okay. Good. So anyway, you might hear Yemoja, so I don't think you'll, have any problems with that in the background. I'm a spiritual activist. I am a spiritual medium, and I'm a spiritual motivator. Well, that's, getting you motivated to get in touch with your spirit, or helping you get spirit to be motivated to help you out. So my background, I'm a Yoruba priest. I have 6 years of Obatala crown, but the journey there started off through spirit and working with spirit. So thank you for having me on here. I hope I do a good job. I'm very excited to have some very interesting predictions.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you very much. Now I'm bringing in Tiye Phoenix. Tiye Phoenix, do you care to introduce yourself to my audience, please, ma'am?
Hey, audience. Hey, Isis Wisdom Show panel. Nice to officially meet you lovely ladies. Isis, of course, I know you. I am an artist. Is there an echo? Is that on my end, or is that just?
That's gotta be on your end because I got everybody on mute, but I'll mute my mic too.
Okay. All right, it's gone now. All right, yeah. So I am a recording artist. I am an astrologer. Astrology to me is the language of the universe, and I never turned back studying astrology for over 2 decades when I could just verify and confirm all events in my life and the lives of just the people with whom I interact, and just world events, current events. And I've just been in love with astrology ever since. I'm very much a proponent of people studying even biblical texts with an astrological mind. So I'm excited to be on this panel tonight to build with you lovely ladies and connect with the audience so we can talk about the remainder of this year and what's coming into the future.
Okay, Miss Lady, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And last but not least, the global black girl. Hey, baby girl.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you care to
Thank you so much.
Yeah, would you care to introduce yourself to us?
Yes, thank you very much for allowing this platform. I'm so honored to be invited. My name is Marina, aka the Global Black Girl. I am an expat with my family in Costa Rica. I am a spiritualist. I'm a diviner. I currently use tarot. I'm claircognizant. I'm a medium. I'm a conduit. And I'm really honored to be given those abilities. And I think of myself as a spiritual counselor, probably more than anything. And being able to offer my revelations, hopefully we'll be able to anchor some stability or at least some preparedness for everyone. But I am planning an amazing retreat. Isis is featured for week 2, which I'm sure we'll talk about another time, but bringing healing and anchoring the light and anchoring an understanding of ourselves through shadow work, through other things that I do as a spiritual counselor and a spiritual activist, as our good sis said. So thank you.
Okay, then, baby girl, I really appreciate you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start off with Kateria first because she actually has to get off the live at a certain time. So I'm actually going to bring her in first so she can give us her perspective about things that are coming for, you can go ahead and unmute your mic. There you go. Okay.
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. Goodell.
So basically, we're going to talk about, from your perspective, what you see happening from the big worldwide solar eclipse on. So I want you to give us your predictions of what you see coming.
So yeah, this is cool. Thank you very much. I didn't really ask them much about the eclipse, but I did ask them about the solstice. But it's interesting that you talk about the eclipse because everything about the remainder of 2021 after the 21st and on is all about sun, illumination, and the moon. Those are the 3 big winners of this. So the astrologer and the tarot card person, I love you. she's life-changing, first of all. This tarot card person, Global Black Girl, life-changing. That they're probably going to support this, that the messages I've been getting have to do with the sun, the moon, and illumination, right? But it also talks about the shadow work, right? And when does shadowing happen, right? So I guess this is where they're talking about the eclipse, because everything has been leading up to shadow work. But in the case, what they've been telling me, it's not about necessarily reflecting inwardly. They want us to start shining lights on different things that are going on in the world. They want it to be not necessarily inside of us, but within our personal bubble. Everything they're talking about is looking at different aspects of your life and shining a light on that. They're also asking people. So in my spiritual tradition, we do a year's reading. And it's for the communities, typically for our Orisha community, our Ile. But we always tell people what's happening in that, because it helps, the wider expanse. This year, in January, Alegba talked a lot about breathing, respiratory issues, particles, dust in the air. Anyone with lung conditions needed to watch out. Babalu Aye was very, very prominent in the reading this year. And as you know, he's the Orisha who governs our health and our wellness. And he's there for other things, but we always look to him to save our life for some reason. And so everything that they said in year's reading happened. You know what I'm saying? And so much. And it usually does. But this reading impacted the world, right? Typically, we don't see that, right? As long as I've been in years readings. So it's talking about reflection, sun and moon. And it actually is saying that next year is going to be just like this year. So when you're pointing the light on things, you now are more educated about how to work those angles. Let me look at my notes, because they're talking about healing modalities that have to that involve healing with vitamin D, like actually getting the opportunity to be out in the sun with the longer days. Is it longer days, shorter nights for the solstice? And it's to take advantage of that. So it's all about illumination and sun once again. It's also saying look at ancient remedies as opposed to relying on big pharma. Okay. So they're talking about antibacterial still, like looking how you're going to work these things into your daily life, right? Taking extra vitamin D. They're actually talking about sun worshiping. Maybe you guys know what that means. It's talking about, yeah, and they want you to, and it's so funny because they were like, this is the time for you to use your ancestral, not only remedies, but traditions in regards to what they worship, ancient worship, worshiping the sun. But they actually said howling at the moon. If that was what they did, then that's what you should be doing. If they were howling at the sun, then that's what you should be doing. They want you to dig deep into not just what Grandma Sally, I talk about this on my IG, not just what Grandma Sally and them did. They want you to go back to the indigenous roots, if at all possible. And lastly, time for observations, exploring your relationships and your role in them. Illumination is going to be your miracle right now. Looking at the people in your life, illuminating a light on those people. They're not talking about introspection. They were like, no. We want them to. But they did talk about shadow work. So I guess through the shadow work, you'll be able to be more open to the looking at the things that you're trying to illuminate. They want you to start understanding misunderstandings. If you have some conflicts that had to do with communication, they want you to straighten that up. And they want you to trust spirit to guide you during these times, to connect you to the essence of your goals, illuminate your goals. Remain neutral, though. so that you can see the miracle happen. Does that make sense? You have to remain neutral in order to see the miracle. If you're so busy, right, you won't be there for to shine the light. And they want lastly, is to find someone you trust wholeheartedly and to get advice from them about how to move in the world next year.
Okay. Now, it's funny that you mentioned about the vitamin D, because one of the things I had talked about was this whole thing where they're telling the people to stay inside. And I explained to them the sinister reasoning behind that. And that has a lot to do with the fact that your vitamin D, you wouldn't produce any vitamin D because you're not out in the sun. And if you're not producing the vitamin D, then you're weakening your immune system.
Right.
So in the process of them also trying to push that vaccine onto people, that's going to make it 10 times worse as far as that's concerned. Now, from your perspective and from what you know, from what you've looked into, let's talk about these injections. What do you see with that?
Why y'all asking me? Why?
I have to. I'm going with everybody. That's the predictions. I gotta go. You gotta touch on a little
see what
bit.
It says in my bio. I'm a part-time conspiracy theorist. Why? And then Marina doesn't help when she starts talking stuff. Then I'll be like, yeah, then the firecracker bombs So yeah, I'm not a fan of vaccines, period. Boom, I said it.
Okay.
The only vaccines, I'm talking about all vaccines.
Right.
The only vaccines that I'm one of those people. I'm sorry. I know there's those things. I just found out somebody I work with is a Trump supporter. It made me very sad. So I'll be that one at the job. They're like, she doesn't believe in vaccines. I don't. I only gave my children vaccines so they could go to school, and I could have done the whole thing that the Jewish community does, the Hasidic Jewish community does, and opt out. I could have done that, but I didn't even feel empowered enough. So my answer to your question is, I'm not trying to be, an experiment. But here's what I really believe. To future, you ever see The Handmaid's Tale? They find the one thing that is controlled by the state. In this case, it was birth control or whatever. And they're going to use it against us. You're not going to be able to travel. You're not going to be able to get a driver's license. You're not going to be able to do anything because you didn't get that vaccine. Do you have the vaccine stamp? The vaccine stamp? What's that? It's not, you don't have it, you can't do nothing. That's what's going to happen. That's how they're going to enforce this.
Got you. All right. Well, thank you for your take on it. I'm going to bring in Global Black Girl into I'm going to ask her next. Excuse me. Is she there? Looks like she's frozen. Okay. All right, got you. Yeah, everybody froze up, but everybody was really weird. Like something happened, it froze up real quick, and I had to go check the Wi-Fi connections. But we good now.
It's the feds. Anytime you start talking keywords, you putting keywords on here. You said vaccine.
That's why I said injection. I didn't say. That's why I said injection.
Oh, see that? You should accuse me on that.
You said the other word.
I said everything. Goodbye.
Yeah, I was careful with my words. Okay, so Marina, I want you to give us your perspective about what you see happening.
So, as I explained kind of briefly, and I don't know that everybody's super familiar with how like claircognizance works, and also being a medium, it's kind of this interesting way of processing information because I just know things. And then I can fill in the gaps with tarot. The ancestors assist me, and so what I got when I asked about the central theme for 2021, it was the Eight of Cups. I don't know if you guys can see it. If you can, I'll just tell you. The Eight of Cups in reverse. The Eight of Cups is a really interesting card because the description of it is that it is a crossroads. It symbolizes a man walking down a road and there's 8 cups stacked. In tarot, 10 is completion. In most numerical considerations, 10 is completion. So 8 is almost completion. He has tested and tried these cups, and spirit whispers to him and says, it's time for you to take a different route. That's when the Eight of Cups is in the upright. When it's in reverse, it's when we have fear of change, when we have doubt in what's been revealed to us, when we are uncertain of what direction we should go in, even though Spirit has revealed very clearly. So this has to do with us doubting our intuition, doubting what it is that we see, doubting what it is that we feel, doubting what it is that we know. Everyone has some level of intuition. Some of us are more in touch with it than others, but our intuition, our gut, if you will, your what guides you, will let you know. And so when we don't trust it, it creates a sense of self-betrayal. So there's going to be a split, as you've been talking about, the split in the collective, the split in the road, the division, right? Between groups, within families, all of that. As Kateria said, I also got the moon and the 7 of Cups. So we have the 8 of Cups in reverse and the 7 of Cups in the upright. 7 of Cups, lots of options, being shown many different things. Out of 7, there's only 2 or 3 that are actually good choices. The rest of them are snakes and people in shrouds and all kinds of confusion. And so what it lends itself is about searching for purpose, trying to evaluate direction, trying to be clear of intention. There's going to be a lot that we're going to be shown, a lot of personal options, a lot of things being told to us. And we must use our intuition and guidance, as Kateria said, with those whose voices you trust, because you've asked your intuition, you've asked your higher mind who you should listen to or not. Using them as guides and asking for assistance to help decide what direction to point your energy is really important, because the moon, you can see with the moon's light, but it's not as bright as the sun. You can cloak under moonlight, right? Mm-hmm. People that work in the arts know you can cloak under moonlight. And so there's this idea that no, it's not completely black. It's not completely dark. You can see some, but there's this overall sense of confusion for 2021, a split in the collective, us being offered many different options and searching for our actual purpose, and the cloak of confusion within that. So it's giving me very cloak in the dark, groping in the dark, trying to find our way. But there's a couple of things that I really wanted to address when I'm talking about my personal opinions for 2021. We're going to be really, truly, probably more than we were this year, tested about what our actual intentions for our lives are and what we're willing to give up and what we're willing to fight for. Everyone has an opinion. We all do. But we will be faced with options, the 7 of Cups. And we're actually going to have to be clear about what it is that we do and do not want for our lives, who it is that we actually are, taking personal responsibility to research and get information. And at the end of the day, listening to Spirit and being guided and trusting what it is that we have been revealed, what's been revealed to us. And that is challenging for a lot of people. Next year, a lot of folks aren't going to make it. A lot of folks are not going to make it. We will be challenged on every front, in our personal decisions, in our family, watching our family make decisions that we don't necessarily agree with. This is going to be a time of creating new family, opening up our understanding of what family, what community is, building actual physical communities, trusting our gut and taking massive leaps and radical trust, as I like to call it. The shadow, I just wanted to briefly bring this up because this is what the moon is about. When you go outside, all there are shadows in the moonlight. Your shadow, if not dealt with, and please don't get me wrong, it's not a one-time thing. But if you don't start the process of really getting into what makes you feel shame, what makes you feel guilt, what makes you feel less than worthy, those things that I say are like boxes in your attic are going to pop out and challenge you. They're going to physically materialize in a lot of ways because our ability to affect our outcome, our manifestation ability, is heightened beyond what most of us have ever experienced. You think about something that's going to happen, what you've been focusing on, that's what you're going to bring to you. Everyone has said that, but it's going to be even more at a fever pitch 2021. So we need to become our own best friends and integrate ourselves so that we're not divided against ourselves. I hope that makes sense.
It does make sense. Now, in terms of this solar eclipse that's coming up tomorrow,
Yes.
which is kind of crazy, I feel like it is setting the tone because we're coming into the age of Aquarius tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
Let's say the dates from the 14th, then to the 21st through the 25th, energetic wise. I know that me and you discussed that during the 21st to the 25th is the time of the crossroads.
Yes.
That's when we're going to see basically what we consider to be what we call the Great Divide, so to speak, during that time
Yes.
period. So
And
go ahead.
Well, speaking of what you're talking about, this idea of Aquarius, and I do natal chart readings as a part of my tarot. So I'm really looking forward to our next speaker talking about it. As a water sign, so I'll just go on and claim whatever bias, right? Okay, I'm a Scorpio. Aquarius, a lot of people who may not have, who aren't fully aware, Aquarius is not a water sign. Aquarius is air in the head. During this period, when we're talking about the crossroads, one of the things I really wanted to bring up is that Aquarius is about thought, higher mind, technology, and in its lower energies, if it, because there's two frequencies to everything, right? There's duality to everything. So in a higher frequency of Aquarius, high mind, coming up with problem solving solutions for humanity, very, collective group. Lower Aquarius energy is the most aloof, disconnected, unemotional, unsupportive, almost parasitic. Sorry, some of y'all, but it can be. Aquarius energy is not the most nurturing when it's in its lower frequency. So when I think of the split in the collective, these things are going to really pop up. So if you have someone in your life who's a borderline narcissist or who's a little selfish, that might actually go on steroids. If you have someone who is a little insensitive or generally speaking isn't very considerate of your feelings, it's going to be even worse. So anchoring ourselves and being really stable and having this beautiful show that you're giving people the ability to prepare. If you know that you have these dynamics, and especially last week, because before the planet shift, there's a shadow, there's the time leading up to it. So energetically, we've been triggered. A lot of us have been very emotional, very triggered. Whatever that has been bothering you that was like a small thing, it's getting ready to become a big thing. And the best thing you can do is be honest about it. Take some time, anchor, give yourself some peace, and ask for assistance, because it's going to be very emotionally volatile. I think everyone's thinking that there's going to be some outside of us kind of attack, when really the attack is within one's own self and within your tight-knit community, in my opinion.
Yikes. Well, y'all ain't playing about the truth about what y'all see coming in 2021. Jeez. I'm waiting for beautiful rainbows in the sky and a new place, a new earth, and all that. And y'all just, I ain't saying you doomy and gloomy. I ain't saying that, but they looking real crazy to me right now.
I mean, if we're centered and we know who we are and we've been doing the work, because I can say for me, 2020 has been a banner year. 2020 had me fully embracing myself. I found my actual path. I have been experiencing success and fulfillment in a way that I hadn't. But the years prior, I started doing the heavy duty lifting and the work. So I think that because we're able to manifest so clearly and so quickly now, you're going to see the results of the work that you're putting in. Maybe faster than you normally would, but we really have to be clear about what we're committed to. I don't just talk. I left because of the things that I felt and what my gut was telling me. I left. I'm in Costa Rica right now with my family. We have our own set of struggles, But when it came push to shove, because I'm against injections and there were certain things that we were not willing to expose our children to, we sold everything we had and we left. Period. And I was willing to accept whatever the fallout from that decision was. So I think that it can be really good. I think the sooner that you figure yourself out and you know who you are, you can start manifesting towards the fulfillment of what it is that you really want for yourself, including if you aren't anti-injection. If you aren't, make that decision because you've done the research and because you know yourself. What does some people aren't going to make it? There's going to be a lot of people that will be passing away, and there's a lot of people that are going to be passing away from your life. I'm a Scorpio. You leave my life, it's a funeral, you know, like I don't have no more energy for that. We have to be in acceptance of the fact that there's going to be people who will choose to exclude themselves from our lives, and some people that we are going to have to open the door to allow to leave our lives, because you cannot continue to cause yourself harm trying to save people.
Okay. And this person here says, Kayla M says, it's an internal war, not an external one. Would you
Primarily
agree?
It starts with the war on the inside. And if you're at war within yourself, then you're going to manifest that in your exterior life as well. So the inside mirrors the out. As above, so below. As inside is as within, so without.
Right.
But what I want to make sure we talked about and stay on track, because it looks like we are, is the fact that these things have to be illuminated. These things have to be put a spotlight on them. And that's what they kept talking
Illumination
about.
of the shadow. And then it's not in the shadow anymore.
Got you. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, we're going to bring in Tiye Phoenix, the astrologer. And Tiye, I want you to give me your perspective in terms of from the solar eclipse that starts tomorrow, the time period leading up to the 2021 winter solstice, from an astrological perspective.
Okay, first
Yeah, I'm going to mute my mic.
audio good? Okay, so first, to just tag along what these beautiful young ladies were saying about shadow work and the idea of a shadow, we have to talk about the definition of an eclipse and what an eclipse is. Tomorrow is a total solar eclipse. The lunar eclipse that we had 2 weeks ago on the full moon wasn't total. It was partial. The one tomorrow is total. So this word shadow keeps coming up, where we're talking about hidden, undisclosed, unprocessed traumas and hurts and pain. Shadow. Well, an eclipse is when the earth is engulfed in a shadow that's casted by the moon, and it blocks the sun. So tomorrow, the sun will be blocked. What is the sun? That is our personality. That is our ego. That is what we project into the world as far as, our energy force. That's our life force. So the sun is going to be blocked by the moon. That is a lunar eclipse. That is a solar eclipse. Total solar eclipse, which is happening tomorrow. And it creates a shadow. So as we've been discussing these law of correspondence, universal laws, people said as within, so without, as above, so below. So there will be a shadow cast tomorrow. It's metaphorically aligned with this shadow that we're speaking about. So with your egoic force, your personality being literally blocked by the moon, and there being a shadow, that is a clear example of the fact that the shadow is coming to the forefront, as opposed to being in the background, which is what we're talking about. The shadow is no longer in the shadows, right? Like you were saying with the moon card in the tarot, which corresponds to the sign of Pisces, right? And it means when you pull the moon card in tarot, that means somebody has a secret, right? Am I right, tarot reader? So it means somebody has a secret. So we're dealing with eclipses. Eclipses in history, if you do the research, there was a time when the ancients wouldn't even come outside, and they would advise people not to come outside during an eclipse. Like people go, oh, let me go grab my binoculars, and so I can view this eclipse. There was a time when the ancients said, whether it was a lunar eclipse, a solar eclipse, Do not look at it. Stay inside, because if it's a lunar eclipse full moon, it's a full moon times 20. If it's a solar eclipse, it's a new moon times 20. So it's a new moon turned. It's a full moon turned, completely turned. So the regular new moon, full moons that we have during the year, this is to another level. When you have eclipses, it's because they involve the nodes of the moon, north node, south node. So with all that being said, just to chime on this importance of shadow work, yes, an eclipse, there will be a shadow cast. The sun will be blocked. That is your ego. Think about your ego being blocked by the light of the moon, which is what is normally hidden in your subconscious. The moon rules your subconscious. The sun is your conscious mind. So this is all happening, not to go too much into the breakdown of the meaning of eclipses, but just to let you know, like, yeah, as within, so without. We're having an eclipse. We're talking about inner shadow work. So you can see what's going on inside of you. If you look outside, you can see what's going on inside of you.
So basically, everybody's business coming to the forefront, honey. Everybody's business coming to the forefront. Basically, it's in your grill now. It seems like that we're lining up to where we're going to be forced to deal with ourselves. This doesn't seem to be anything that anybody's going to be able to escape. This seems like something that I don't think that people really are fully understanding, but they're starting to go through it now. For those of y'all that are going through your experiences, how I'm going through something myself right now where I was confronted with something. So basically that stuff is all coming out to the forefront, and it's just here. And we're going to remain here until we deal with our stuff. Would you agree? Tiye.
It's me. Okay, I'm still here. It's ongoing. It's ongoing.
Ongoing. That's what I thought.
As long as you still have life in your body and breath in your lungs, and you have a pulse and a heartbeat, your life work doesn't cease. That's how I look at it. Every day you wake up, you go to sleep, you open your eyes the next day, you say, "Oh, I'm still here. This is another opportunity. I'm gonna get it right today. Oh, I didn't get it right today. I'm gonna go at it and try it again tomorrow." So we're all still continually in this process of not even perfecting life. The perfection is relative, but just the idea of being the best you, and really being in touch with who you are and what that reveals to you. Now, in terms of you saying clarity, in terms of what's true and what's false, as a matter of fact, this new moon tomorrow, new moon total solar eclipse, is in square to the planet Neptune. So if you've been paying attention to current events and some things that have been transpiring, there have been a couple stories about fraud. As a matter of fact, the whole voter situation is about fraud. And it's no accident that I believe isn't the Electoral College scheduled for tomorrow on the solar eclipse? So
they're supposed to announce, supposedly it's supposed to announce something tomorrow. There's going to be some announcement that's supposed to take place.
Absolutely.
It looks a little crazy to me.
Yeah, so square to the planet Neptune, which is cloudiness, uncertainty, sometimes straight up falsehood. And Sagittarius is about truth, higher knowledge, higher learning. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, corresponds to the 9th house in the zodiac. So they're in a square to one another. This has been going on all Sagittarius season. Sagittarius squares Pisces, where Neptune is in its home. So this has been going on. You've been seeing stories about rappers who had fraud exposed. It's just in the energy. The astrology is always going to tell you what the energy is, and what's transpiring in the world will line up with the astrology. And in light of what was said earlier about people leaving, and Aquarius on the low vibrational end is just aloof detachment and things of that nature. I want to speak on the difference between detachment and being apathetic. There's a difference. Aquarius is the water bearer, It means I'm pouring water out. People, like you said, it's not a water sign, it's an air sign, it's mental. But the symbol is the water bearer, which means I'm pouring water out for the collective. Aquarius is the group. I have things to share. I can't be bogged down. I can't be confined contain, tie down. I have to disseminate this water to the group. So in order to do that effectively, I have to be connected to everything, but attached to nothing. On the high end, detachment doesn't mean I do not care about you. It doesn't mean that I have a closed heart. The opposite of Aquarius is Leo. Leo rules the heart. It doesn't mean, Ma'at, the feather, the heart, the feather's air, Aquarius, the heart's Leo. They're opposites. You put the heart on the scale, it's got to be lighter than the feather, right? So it doesn't mean I don't have a heart. It doesn't mean I don't care for you as a fellow member of humanity. Aquarius is humanity. It just means I have work to do. I have to connect with this collective and share. So I cannot be weighed down with worries, stress, confusion. My heart has to be as light as what the feather. Heart, Leo, feather, air, Aquarius. That's the Ma'at scales. So I just wanted to chime on that. This is the whole idea of Aquarius being like, I don't care about anybody but myself. I'm detaching. That's not what we're going for, because we are connecting, to one another through just the thread that links us as humanity. You know what I'm saying? So the idea of not caring and being cold, we're not going for that. On the low vibrational end, you're correct. It is that, but we're striving to be high vibrational beings, right? So and as far as
we're all here, that's why we're all here doing this work.
Yeah, and as far as Saturn, rules, deals with control, authority, but in Aquarius, it cannot be controlled. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn in the modern astrology, but in the ancient astrology, Saturn ruled Aquarius. In the ancient, not to go too nerdy with it, I'm just saying, but in Aquarius, Saturn cannot control the energy. So the idea of being authoritative, dictatorship, kind of, or bossy, oppression, that can't happen. And then, the square to Uranus is going on, Saturn, Uranus. So you're going to see a lot of people not taking any shit. Like, they're not going to be able to be controlled. The collective is like, this whole vaccine thing, like, there have already been a couple countries that they overturned the whole thing because the collective said, we're not doing it.
Keyword injection. We don't want to knock off the AI. We don't want to do that. But I want you guys to hold on for a second. We're going to take a couple minute break real quick. We'll have DJ Needles come in and blow it up real quick while I run to go get me something to drink. And then we're going to come right back so we can go back and resume into what we were talking about. Needles, do your thing, bro.
I like this beat right here.
I'm back, I'm back, I'm back, I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. What up, what up, what up? This is your girl, Isis Wisdom, of the Isis Wisdom Show. Lost Tiye Phoenix for a second. Something happened with her connection, but she'll be back in. In the meantime, we're going to resume our conversation until she comes back in. She just told me that she thought she was still online, and I said, "No, nah, something with your phone disconnected there." But I just want to say that the bottom line is neither one of you ladies, from what I'm understanding, I need you to unmute your phone, Kateria, and also I'm going to unmute yours. Well, I need you to unmute your phone as well, Global Black Girl. Bottom line is things are not going to be the same. We're not going back to the way things were before, are we? That's a wrap.
I could have gave you that prediction back in March.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've been talking about that for a minute.
And I think that's, hey, Tiye back. I think that's what the collective messaging is here. It's all about preparedness.
Mm-hmm.
All about, like I said, they were saying, talking about shining a light on things, getting your house in order, getting your all your plans in order, because there's definitely going to be some movement next year, whether it's willfully or crisis related. It's going to be, right? This year we were kind of stagnant, right? Because you know what to do, which way to move. Next year people are going to be moving, and they need to really let spirit allow them, guide them through movement. This is why I was talking more about ancestral veneration and things of that nature. Because to me, we all have that. We all have ancestors, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to practice any kind of religion to know that we all have ancestors. So if there's one thing we all walk with, is that. So you have to let them guide us through this upcoming year.
To that point, it was really incumbent upon me. I felt so much pressure this year. Pressure, yeah, that's the word. To spread the word and to tell people, reach out to your ancestors. You can have any religion you want, but their actual blood is in your veins, so they are therefore with you, and you have access to the epigenetic knowledge bank within you, within your DNA. And as Isis was mentioning, the next few days, right, and the sun and the vitamin D, use that as a means to unlock that knowledge, that information. Get your ancestor altar together. You know, I've stepped mine up but starting and getting information and asking for guidance is really, really important, because even if you're uncomfortable with, religion in and of itself, you acknowledging your ancestors is you acknowledging and incorporating yourself. It's part of your process of self-integration. And there's so much knowledge there and help there, because, we need their help.
Would you say that we're coming into a greater spiritual time period?
I don't want to over talk, but I've been thinking about that all day. I've been thinking about that for a couple of months. And I think that for some, absolutely. And I think for others, that energy of spirit or trust in the unknown or being open will lead them further into AI in that direction. I think that energy can be harnessed in one of two ways. I think that some of us will absolutely have been feeling it and are turning towards it and are more open to it. And I think some people are going to cling more to what they would like to be able to hold on to. A lot of people are very invested in the tactile and what can be seen. And I always say that intuition is the language of spirit. Your feelings are the language of spirit, and that is unseen, and that can't always be proven, right? And that is very uncomfortable for some folks. So I think that it's not going to be everybody. I think that this is going to be one of the areas that the collective is going to split, to be honest.
We're going to bring Ty back in for her to finish what she was saying earlier during our conversation. And also, Ty, I want to ask you as well, what is your opinion about people becoming more spiritual, especially after that alignment with Aquarius, with all the planets being in alignment with Aquarius in the month of February? What do you see in terms of the collective of the people?
I think because the vibration of the planet is increasing. Just if you are so caught up in physical reality that you're just going to struggle in general, because being aware of just life and existence beyond what you can see, touch, hear, those minimal senses, we have greater senses and a greater sense of awareness beyond that. So I think most people who are in tune know that you just can't be limited in your thinking and just your processing, but just confined to the empirical, what you can touch and feel empirically. Definitely, I think people are becoming more spiritual. Aquarius energy is definitely spiritual, but it's spiritual with a sense of knowing. Pisces is spiritual as well, but it's spiritual based on beliefs. But Aquarius is more about a knowing, just a real confident sense of internal knowing. I think that people are being forced to tap in a little more into just greater senses of awareness and understanding. So I definitely see, in terms of it being this great awakening where just humanity just is vibrating in a whole different place. It's a whole different energy. I don't think that's happening right away. I think that's a gradual process that's still unfolding. I was doing some research, and just the idea of the age of Aquarius. Yes, I think we're entering that age where we're more conscious of one another. Like as humanity, we're more into the esoteric. We're more into but in terms of, there's some astrologers who say the age of Aquarius technically doesn't begin until 2160. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the calendar, this Gregorian calendar that we follow is based on the birth of Jesus. That's why it's AD, with 2020 AD. So that this calendar began at 7 AD, like the birth so-called. So getting into the whole adding and subtracting of these ages and whatnot, it's just it becomes a debate about whether or not we're in this age, kind of in this age, or is this age still coming in the future? I say I just watch the energy. And if all those planets are lining up in the sign of freedom, Aquarius, in the sign of the collective, Aquarius, in the sign of experimentation, unplanned events, Aquarius, then we got to obey the energy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to go with the age of Aquarius is beginning. It's beginning.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I definitely feel that. And, we have been going with a system that is foreign to us in nature to begin with. And if you study the Dogon tribes who've been studying the stars since forever, and you go and you start looking at other ancient indigenous astrologers, so to speak, what the ancients did when they practiced, when they studied the cycles and things of that nature, I tend to ride exactly what you just said, and that is you just got to pay attention to the energy. It doesn't take a rocket scientist with everything that you see going on. That we're definitely in a different age now. Well, it's my understanding that we're not even in the year 2020. We're actually in the year 2012. You know what I'm saying? And if you guys go take a look at the Ethiopian calendar, which I believe that's the calendar that people are looking at, which it would show you that we're in the year 2012. And so that right then and there, with everything that you see going on energetic wise, if you're looking at the Schumann resonance and how it's been off, this thing has been off the charts in terms of its frequency. They can't even match it no more because it's so off the charts that they can't even find nothing to match it with because it doesn't exist. So when you start, and it's doing this on a consistent basis, so it's broken all of its records this year. And then you have this eclipse that's taking place this year. So if you pay attention to everything that's going on, it definitely is what it is. I just think that we have opposing forces to try to throw us off, and that's always been the case. But I'm going to go with what you said. I'm going to ride it out with what you just said. Pay attention to the energy. You know what I'm saying? The queens, we are tuned in. And we understand the divine feminine energy is coming down upon planet Earth right now, even as we speak. Now, from my perspective about what's coming up as well, is that we're also coming into the time period where all of us should be more creative than what we have been. Okay? We need to be very creative and expand our mind more, expand our consciousness more. I think that people that are in that space are going to do just fine. I mean, I would suggest that you get with a personal astrologer and have them look at your chart as it pertains to what's going on right now with the planetary alignments. I definitely would do that. But I'm saying that I just sense and can feel and see or foresee that there's going to be a lot of creative energy going on. And as long as people are tapped into that, that's higher energy, that's higher spirituality when you start tapping into the divine feminine. As long as you are in that lane and you're doing the necessary work that you need to do for yourself, I feel like that people are going to be okay as long as they understand that they have to continue to adjust and adapt to whatever's happening come next year. You just have to be able to read the energy. And that's something that we're not really taught how to do, is how to read the energies. You know, if you're getting a lot of resistance and if a lot of shadow work is coming up on you, then common sense just to kick in and say, you know what, let me take a step back. Let me go inward. Let me start working on myself, because this is hindering me from everything else. This is amplified currently in my life right now. Why is this being amplified in my life? Let me see that as a sign, and let me take a step back and let me look at myself and say, let me go ahead and begin to start working on the areas of my life that I can clearly see need to be worked on. I feel like those things are going to be illuminated a lot in 2021. Like Kateria was saying, I feel like that's definitely going to be illuminated. So I definitely agree with what she's saying as well.
Can I interject there for 1 minute?
Sure.
Because the message that they keep telling me is that it is about self, but it isn't about self. And I think that speaks to what Marina was talking about with the narcissism. Mm-hmm. They want these individuals who are sort of under this sort of umbrella to try to look past self and the self and the ego part. That's the problem. Is there are a group of people that aren't able to look beyond self and to look at others in their life.
Yeah, I get it from that perspective. That makes sense to me. I'm saying from the standpoint of healing, because you got to heal. If you don't know how to, if you're not healing, it's going to be almost impossible for you to see anything. For you to see anything else, it's going to be impossible for it to be done because you're not dealing with what's you're not dealing with the one thing that's standing in your way. So you got to heal from that. If you're suffering from all this stuff over here, it's going to be impossible for someone to look over here and say, okay, well, let me worry about this over here. That's going to be impossible. You know what I'm saying? So when I say what I'm projecting is just simply the healing aspect of things. Is more so what I'm talking about. So that way, like you said, the illumination comes down. Work on yourself from that perspective, and then
they talk about your health. They do. They do. They're talking about your health again.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a major big one right there. A major big one. Go ahead, Marina. It sounds like you want to say something. I could just tell you want to say something, so I'm just going to let you say it.
I was going to say in the way in which that this connects to health, because they're not separate. We've been taught that everything is like in its these different compartments, and they're not. Your shadow work, your guilt, your shame, the pains in your life that you haven't addressed will manifest physically in depression. You might break out in hives. You may have, all manner of things will manifest physically in your actual body if not addressed properly. So in addressing our shadow, which we will not be able to hide from, right? We should also be looking at what's going on with our bodies, supporting our bodies, doing a cleanse, not only emotionally, but doing physical cleanse. Fasting, I'm a huge proponent of water only fasting. You can do juices, you can do other things, but water only fasting is something that I have benefited from greatly. You can go on and do some of the research if any of you guys are interested. All of parts of ourselves, our physical bodies, our spiritual bodies, our emotional selves, all of those parts are interconnected and they're not separate. So in looking at the shadow, it can manifest physically. And I have a lot of people that I work with who have told me, I've been dealing with, I can't sleep at night. I'm having night sweats. I'm having migraines. I'm having, ulcers. I'm having all kinds of things. Well, if you have ulcers, your stomach is producing too much acid because you're worrying, right? You're trying to control things. You're having panic attacks because you're trying to control things outside of yourself because you don't feel like you have control over your own vessel. And so because I was hopping on what Kateria said, it is physical.
I have to hop off, as you know. But one of the last things that I wanted to make sure I said was that people need to make their own bath prescriptions. Just because spearmint is good for you doesn't mean it's good for you. Everyone should know their top 3 bath items that they can do one real quick for sweetening up or also cutting. They were very specific about find out your own bath prescriptions and make sure you always have the ingredients to make those baths when you need them. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you having me on here. This was a lot of fun.
All right. You take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. So we're gonna bring okay, Ty, I'm gonna unmute both you and Marina.
Okay.
Okay. Now Ty, you were saying something earlier. Or something you said in that live that we did last night that really had me thinking. I'm trying to remember what it was that you were saying in that live last night, but it's because it literally just slipped my mind. I was about to say it, and it literally slipped my mind.
That live was heavy. It was everything. That live was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really dope. And so you mentioned something today about people being stuck, right? About people being stuck and making suggestions or talking about how people can heal or get themselves out of that mode. What would you say that would be a good thing for them to do?
Well, in terms of just, let's just say now, right now, where I was saying last night about Saturn being at the last degree with Capricorn, Jupiter being at the last, they're being the last degrees of Capricorn. So what's coming up for you possibly is all of those Capricorn related issues in your life that you have not addressed. That would be responsibility. That would be accountability. That would be karma. That would be hard work and discipline that resulting in you achieving. You know, Capricorn is about achievement based on hard work, not on just rolling the dice, but literally putting in the effort, breaking a sweat. Karma is big. Saturn is the karma dealer. So Saturn at the last degree of Capricorn is probably bringing up a lot of old unresolved, because Capricorn is older things. It's not new things. It's older things. So all of these things are coming up for people. And of course, in terms of mental health, like I said last night, Saturn corresponds to depression. Capricorn corresponds to depression. Now, when I say these things too, I want to say, because some people are not as well versed in astrology as others, so they may lock into like one thing I say. I say Saturn's hard work, Saturn's depression, and they think these signs and planets and the houses that they rule have millions of keywords.
Yes.
Keywords. So Capricorn is also the bones and the teeth, just like it's depression and hard work. You know what I mean? Like it corresponds to parts of the body. It corresponds to Capricorn would be politician.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, right. So I want to say that for people, because sometimes I notice in these chats on these lives, people go, well, what do you mean it's this? I thought you said it was that. You know, like, you know, it's a lot of different things. And when you begin to study astrology, study keywords. That's one of the first things they tell you when you study astrology is study all the keywords that you can think of. And when you write down 500, find 500 more for each particular sign, the planet, and the corresponding house in the zodiac. So the house for Capricorn is the 10th house. That's public profession. So what you do publicly is Capricorn and Saturn related. Again, like I said, this stuff is layered. But with that being said, Capricorn is about long-term commitment. And so you were speaking about being stuck. When the energy shifts into Aquarius, when Jupiter and Saturn both go into Aquarius, and when all of those planets in Aquarius season are in Aquarius, being stuck is going to be very difficult. Being stuck just mentally, emotionally, the more stuck you remain, meaning the more resistant that you are, the more resistant you are to change, that's probably going to pose a great deal of difficulty for you, because Aquarius is definitely not stuck. You know, you literally can find yourself detached, and not by your choice. Not by your choice. It's
yes.
You know, I see you nodding. You agree? Yeah, like unplanned, spontaneous accidents, unplanned, spontaneous surprises that you like and don't like. You know, it's really just hard to call it. So in terms of really being unstuck, I would say, and this is to chime in on what was discussed earlier. Somebody mentioned the word trust. The key word I would just throw out there, one of the key strategies I would throw out there to really assist us all in this shift that we're experiencing is surrender. Surrender doesn't mean weak or necessarily vulnerable or powerless. Surrender corresponds to actually trusting the universe. So it's not something that we master all the time. Like as much as we say, I trust spirit to guide me. I trust that everything is unfolding exactly the way that it should be. I trust that God made no mistakes. There's a divine plan. That's what we consciously and logically tell ourselves. But every now and then, we all go through it. I think I have a better way. I think I know a better plan. I don't know. I want to try this, even though life is telling me to veer in another direction. We all do it. But I would say with this fixed air, that's what Aquarius is, fixed air, Uranus in Taurus though, but squaring Aquarius, all that unexpected, who knows, possibilities of just whatever, surrender. That's the first step to becoming unstuck. Now, you don't know how stuck people are. Some people have clinical depression and they, you know what I mean? They need a different level of help. Some people are just mad about something and 15 minutes later, they're not even going to remember it. You know what I mean? Like, we're all in different places, emotionally, spiritually, physically. So it depends on, tap into exactly what's going on with you. You know what I mean? If you know you're at your wit's end, you know, like Isis says, keep your wits about you. So if you know you're at your wit's end, you've thought about taking drastic measures to deal with your hurt, to deal with your struggles, you have a different case. You know, you're a different case. You're a different situation. So just know what's going on specifically with you and your story. You know, some people, you guys have a lot of Aquarius in your chart. You know, you have a Uranus placement, Uranus placement where you really don't, or Libra, you know, you have a Libra in your chart. You're not really too bogged down or weighed down by issues. You know how to just kind of move out mentally. A lot of Gemini, you know, shout out to you Geminis, you air sign heavy people, you know, maybe, you know, you're not as like you said, you're a Scorpio, right?
With a lot of Libra. With a lot of Libra.
Okay, so
yeah, I have stellium in Libra.
Venus and Mercury? Do you have Venus and Mercury in Libra?
No, I have Venus and Scorpio, but I have Mercury. I have Mercury in Libra, yeah.
Mercury in Libra?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know that, would you say that your Mercury in Libra helps you? You know, the Venus and Scorpio has you fixated on like, oh, wait a minute, you ain't gonna get away with that. You know, you laugh.
The Libra with foreplay, the Libra keeps me light. Like you said, it keeps me light. It keeps me diplomatic. It keeps me committed to being fair and balanced. But Scorpio keeps my fourth chakra from being shut down, which happens with Libra a lot. You know, the martyrdom, I'm just going to keep quiet because I want to keep things balanced. And I'm not, Scorpio says, I'm going to call you on your shit, but Libra keeps me nicer about it and diplomatic about it. So I'm grateful. And you're right. The air allows for a lightness, which will definitely assist someone from getting out of their feeling stuck. But also, if we cannot connect to our emotions, and I have so many people who are like, I can't feel anything. I don't know how I feel. I don't know what's bothering me. I don't know why I'm upset, because they're so stuck, right, in the way that they've been doing things. This is a real opportunity for breakthroughs. I know it was very doom and gloom, but I think that with the Aquarius energy, with the shifting that's happening, this is a real opportunity for breakthroughs, because guess what? You're not going to be able to keep it under wraps anymore. It's going to bubble to the surface and explode on you. So this is an opportunity to go, oh, this is what I'm feeling. Don't run from it. Don't deny it. Don't try to cover it up. Don't try to cope. Sit in it. Your feelings are not going to kill you, and they're not your enemy. Your feelings are especially if you're not a normally emotional person, a lot of people can feel very overwhelmed. And I have an intensity. I'm a Scorpio. I live in intensity. It doesn't scare me, but I understand that it can be scary for people when it's anger, when it's sadness, when we're talking about past traumas and they're bubbling to the surface. It can make a lot of us uncomfortable, but that is the key to freeing yourself. You're being handed the keys to unlock your jail cell when those feelings come up.
Now, I want to say this. I want to ask this question as well. Now, Ty, you mentioned something yesterday on the lives. I got a lot more followers, subscribers on this thing right now. We was damn near 1,000 people on here. I want to talk to you about the structures that are also going to be coming down in 2021. Government structures, corporations, authority, rule, and all of that type of stuff going on. You know, I know you had said that Pluto was going to remain, I believe, in Capricorn, right? Until you said 2024. So then during that time period, you're saying it's going to be a major change then, a major breaking down of what we all have known. It's going to take about 4 years. After 2024, how do you see things from an astrological perspective from that point on? What do you think? How do you think the people are going to be like? What kind of a world, or what does that look like for us?
Well, the thing is, when after 2024, when Pluto actually leaves Capricorn, in 2024, then Pluto will be in Aquarius. The United States, I'm sure there's people watching from all over the world who are not necessarily in the United States, but the United States has Pluto in Aquarius. So that would be a Pluto return. Pluto is transformation and death. Aquarius is what? Explosions. Aquarius is unplanned events. Like, honestly, that is a whole different world. 2024, like, okay, we're December 2020. December 2024 is, you're talking about, I mean, Neptune is still in Pisces at that time. It's in Pisces now. So Neptune is finishing up in Pisces in 2024. Saturn is in Pisces then. Uranus is finishing up in Taurus. Uranus stays in a sign for 7 years. So Uranus is in Taurus right now as we speak, and it'll still be in Taurus. It'll be at the end, closer to the end. Jupiter will be in Gemini. You're talking about, at this point, Pluto in Aquarius. This is we're a completely different society then. You know what I mean? Like, when you think about all of the major religions who, like, for example, even Jehovah's Witness, they come to mind, because you know how they used to come to get, they come to your door, they give you the watchtower, and on the picture of the watchtower, there's a quote unquote visual of what they describe as paradise. And they have these people living in a garden, and they're eating fruits off the tree, and everyone seems to be living in harmony. It's very possible in that time frame, like, we could be in a completely different utopia-like reality, because at that point there's been so many transformations, there's so much death and rebirth at that point. Like, who's to say like within the next 3-4 years after some of the wars have happened, because it is possible. I don't like to subscribe to the doom and gloom mindset, but Mars is going to be square Pluto on the solstice. Mars square Pluto is a war. That is a war aspect in astrology. It is a very,
You're saying this, so you're saying this solstice?
yes. Yes.
So damn. So basically, what you're saying is a possibility that we could be dealing with some type of war, some type.
It's a possibility, yes. And from, I don't like to think so, but from what I'm hearing, the military has been gearing up in other countries. There's been so much going on. See, this is what's happened. People have been living in a fog. Like, you pulled the moon card, says, like, Neptune rules the fog. Neptune corresponds to Pisces. Neptune is in the sign, its home sign of Pisces. People have been living in the fog. It rules the media. It rules the entertainment industry. Some people, if they were to tell you, if you were to ask them what's going on right now in the global landscape as far as the relationship between these countries and the potential for war, most people couldn't tell you one thing, like which countries are oppositional to one another. They don't tell you that Canada, that China is at the border in Canada, Russia is at the border, their submarines are in the, they wouldn't even be able to tell you this. People were being vehement about voting this time a couple weeks ago, and they were not discussing these issues at all. People have been in a fog. As this fog lifts, especially in Sagittarius season, where Sagittarius squares that Pisces energy. So, and Sagittarius is the 10th house, so it's being put out there publicly. The potential is there. People are so unclear and unaware and unfamiliar with just a lot of dynamics, not only going on globally, but in their immediate reality. Like you just said, people say, I'm stuck and I don't know why. I'm mad and I don't know why, which means that you have been, and I say this with no judgment, but that means if you're unaware of why you're pissed off, if you're unaware of why you're confused, if you're unaware of why you're unmotivated, etc., that means that you have been blind to the events unfolding in your life. Like, you have been living on autopilot and not paying attention to that which makes you feel dissatisfied, to that which you conceded, or you agreed to, but in your heart, you really didn't want to do that. There were maybe guidelines in that relationship that, you didn't really agree with it, but perhaps to keep the peace. This having Libra placements. You know this having Libra placements, that's a challenge for you. That, oh, well, I don't know, negotiate, compromise. And then you walk out sometimes feeling very dissatisfied. And I'll go out on a limb just for anyone who has Libra in their chart or Libra placements, such as yourself. This year, you were forced, with Mars opposite that Libra energy, you were forced to confront a lot of people and situations, whether you wanted to or not, whether they initiated it or whether you initiated it. You were forced to confront a lot of issues to really deal with how you can get your needs met, how the other person can get their needs met, and whether you're going to come to a happy medium, which Libra is good at, scales, right? Or whether
diplomacy. Diplomacy, yeah.
I haven't seen your charts, but is this accurate?
Oh yeah, I have Libra, Pluto, Saturn, and Mercury. And I have Scorpio in several places, but I have a Taurus moon. So I've got that stability. And everything that you're talking about is absolutely accurate. And I think that especially the aspects of Pluto, yes, war, and also the underworld. Pluto rules Scorpio. This idea of the underworld, of the unseen, right? People, it's not, there's no more room to run. There really isn't. And it's a reckoning. In a lot of ways, it's a reckoning. But like I said, to me, I feel encouraged by it, because when you get into the stuff that hasn't made you comfortable, the things that have been really difficult or uncomfortable, you start to go, like you said, this year for me was facing all of the things that I had been running from, in the freedom of it. And I've been doing the work for a long time. We all do, but it's an onion, right? And you peel back the layers. And you feel lighter every single layer that comes undone. And it takes bravery. You have to be brave. You have to put on your big girl pants and do what you have to do, and be brave and step in and look at it and say, regardless, I am worthy. The universe conspires to support me. My ancestors love me. I am surrounded by love. The environment is that of love, even if I find myself all the way by myself. In this time, in this shift, if we surrender, like you said, to that, the potential for love and for community and building community is exponential, but it will require truth telling. It will require that. And that's part of what goes with it. In judgment, there's truth. Saturn, the great judge, there's judgment, and it's harsh. If any of us have had contact with Capricorn, we know it can be very harsh. But it's true, and you're being called, and it's an opportunity for you to go, okay, I see that. I'm going to go on and do something different. And something that Isis was sharing about the divine feminine and feminine energy and creativity as being an opportunity or an outlet to benefit from this shift. That's really real. That's 100% factual. The feminine, if you find your creative voice, if you tap in to your own creativity, the opportunities are immense, but they're not always going to be things that are tactile that you can see. We're not doing storefronts like we used to anymore, right? Everything is online. We're not doing my work is 100% on the internet now, on Zoom and like in this medium, opening up our perspective of what is possible. We all are going to be manifesting the type of reality that we believe that we're entitled to have, to be honest. And so when she said, what are your predictions? Well, I don't have like a collective for everybody kind of thing, other than the fact that this is going to be all of us viewing and looking at ourselves really, and having to deal with the reality that we manifest based on our beliefs and unresolved issues and work that we haven't done. Get into Pluto. Don't be afraid, because it's all you.
You a Scorpio. You gonna say get into Pluto?
Yes, I love it. Yeah.
You live for the dark side, right?
I do.
But let me just say this one thing now. There's one thing that has not been touched upon, and I just want to touch on it real quick from our audience, because some of them have asked questions about the UFO, quote unquote, or extraterrestrial things that are going on that's blatantly in our faces right now. And I'm going to start with Marina. Marina, based upon what you have done research on yourself, I know that you have read on the situation concerning that aspect of things, and I would like for you to please give us your perspective in terms of, are we dealing with an extraterrestrial presence on this planet?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
okay, so this is real then. We are dealing
Yeah,
with an extraterrestrial presence on
the
this planet.
monoliths, the yes, it's very real. I think what may be more challenging is figuring out the who and who's involved and why and all of that. I mean, those are, more details, but we absolutely are. It's coming to our faces. And for, now it's something that's being publicized and discussed, but absolutely. And I've pulled cards on it and gotten confirmation, as yes. And I don't know that it's something that people are looking for answers. Should we be afraid? Right? This is the underlying question I think a lot of people have. Should we be afraid? Is this a good thing? What does this mean?
Right.
I think we first have to just accept that it's not just us, right? And that there are other entities and energies and beings and we've had interactions with for, whether we were conscious of it or not. And so the expansion of understanding, the knowing, right? As the good sis was talking about, having this knowing and this acceptance, we really need to get into the acceptance that there are many, many agendas, and that the awareness that we have just in like Republican or Democrat, or are you a vaxxer or no, or whatever, the agendas are bound. We're in a layer of multiple groups who have different intentions and different agendas. And so us anchoring in our knowledge of self is super important. You need to know who your ancestors are. You need to know who your guides are. You need to know your role, because there's all of these other energies that play a part and affect things. So yeah, short answer, absolutely is true. Yeah.
Now, Ty, from your perspective, from an astrological perspective, are you able to see those types of details from that perspective, or maybe things of the unknown being exposed to the people from an astrological perspective? Are you able to see that type of an influence through the planetary alignments at this time and beyond?
Well, yeah, specifically, just let me just say Aquarius energy in general. Like that's the uncanny, the unconventional. Um, in terms of, like I was saying last night, there have been documents that have been declassified about extraterrestrial visitation within this year, 2020. So it's already been happening. I think people are just particularly waiting for a main event. If you're speaking of like some particular main event, well, every day, as you know, people are submitting their videos, their photographs
It's
of
retarded, fam.
their main events that they that
Sis,
they.
it's so retarded. I don't know, out here in Arizona, it's these I don't know what's going on, but I'm telling you, it's party time out here in the skies out here, honey.
Yeah,
Party time. They
definitely.
just don't give a damn anymore. It's like, hey, we're here. We're just gonna show our ass. Hey, 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 hey. That's what they're doing.
But look at how for many years we were told that this DNA we have is called quote unquote junk DNA.
Right.
Your
Right.
your DNA is trash. It has no purpose. We don't know that you go through that junk DNA. We would be called aliens too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would be called aliens if we don't have, like, if they examine exactly our genetic origin, so to speak.
It's being hidden.
Well, they said in our,
And
they
we've been
said
lied to,
in our
yeah.
mitochondrial DNA that we actually carry a DNA that actually carried a different type of species altogether.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In us, in terms of, indigenous women, that they had found in us, that they have found the genes of a different species of being all the way across the board. So that already lets you know what we are right from the gate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that they're just hiding, not revealing the information, or hiding or concealing the information that may have given us this knowledge about those things as it pertains to us.
But correction is coming.
Yeah, the
correction is happening. It's beginning now, and we're feeling it.
Yeah.
But that's the
Yeah.
thing, you still have a veil, over your eyes in terms of like your belief systems, all of your information comes through, MSM, mainstream media. If that's how you're getting your information now, like where you have to be shocked into the reality or knowing of, oh, you're not the only life form that exists in the entire cosmos, and that's like a wake up call, like, you know what I mean? That's a light bulb moment for you, like, oh, there's other life forms, other expressions of the creator in other parts of the galaxy, other parts of the universe, other parts of, like I said, the entire cosmos, the omniverse. Period. Not the universe, the omniverse. If you are still under that mind frame that there's no other life other than you might be again, like you said, last night, this whole concept of being behind the eight ball. You know what I mean? Like there's life forms on this planet that haven't been discovered, that are indigenous to this planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and I talked about that too, about how there's certain species of animals and things like that are now starting to surface that people are videotaping in different parts of the world. These species of animals that have never been seen before. Different species of animals that are coming up from the ocean. Different species of animals that are coming up from the rivers and things like that have never been seen before.
Yeah.
So and then not to mention the we are going into a different dimension. So now the unseen is being seen now. You have a lot of people that are now saying that they see things and then that they're at the corner of their eye. And then you got some that are saying it's no longer at the corner of my eyes, like dead in my face now. Where I'm
Let's talk
seeing
about our
things.
gifts coming
You know what I'm
online,
saying?
right?
Right.
The being out in the sun, this junk
Yeah.
DNA being activated. I
Yeah.
know that I have had gifts that went from 0 to like 1,000 in the span of a few months.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I don't really even know how I'm going to be able to, use them or whatever, but I'm having them. And I know other people have been experiencing that as well. And so we are being revealed to ourselves, and so are other beings.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all saw the video I put up on my Instagram. It was the craziest video I ever seen in my life. That video was so crazy. But they showed this guy walking up to this car, and this guy is shooting at the windshield at this person in the car, and the person he's at point blank range. So there's no way he should have been able to get out that car. This dude gets out the car, runs down the side of the sidewalk. The guy's chasing him with the gun. Okay, he's running behind. I think it was a truck, then a red van, and then as soon as he comes out from that red van, he cuts out, and the next thing you know, he splits in half, and he's one's going this way, one's going that way, and you can literally see the shooter, like he's got a hand pointing this way, a hand pointing this way. He's confused. The cops come around the corner, they pull their gun out, right? But you can see the dude like doing one of these numbers with his head, like, what the hell did I just see? And then he just literally gets on the ground because the cops are like, get down. He literally has to get down on the ground at that point because the cops got a point blank range. But I think, but the way it looked like, I don't know what the hell I just saw, so I'm not even going to attempt to even get these cops around because what I just saw, it's a wrap. It's just the way it looked. But if you guys get a chance, check it out on my IG video. I am the realest to ever do it. It's right there. But that was crazy. And so then that also exposed the fact that we have, beings on this planet that have the ability to disguise themselves as human beings when they're really not human beings. Either that or the DNA activated with this particular person and they found out that they had the ability to create a duplicate of themselves. I don't know which is which. I'm not sure even how to even, you know what I'm saying? So I think that what's been hidden, I think that I think that these creatures and these beings have always been amongst us. I think what's happening now is that the revelation is we've always been here. We've been walking amongst you. We've been eating with you. You've been working with us. We've been working with you. Some of us, you might even had sex with some of us. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just coming out there like that now. Like, we're here now. Like on some Star Trek, Star Wars type stuff going on.
Yeah, shapeshifters, right? Shapeshifters.
Yeah.
Can I tell you some of the aspects going on tomorrow during the eclipse?
Yes, please do.
So, like this hypothetically, if anybody, if you were getting a reading, you were getting a natal reading from me, and I was to tell you, what was happening tomorrow in your chart, this is like some of the this is the way I would go through some of the details. So, the sun and the moon tomorrow are conjunct. That's what a new moon is. They're 23 degrees of Sagittarius. Mercury is 20 degrees of Sagittarius. That's close enough. So Mercury is involved in this new moon. Mercury is communication. Mercury is your mindset, your ideas. Mercury is transactions. For example, you think about mercantile, merchant marine, those words, all those words are related, whether it's astrology or not, merchandise. Think about it. Mercury, the astrology is in the entire language. So Mercury is involved in this new moon at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. Mars is going to be 20 degrees of Aries. That's called a sextile. Mercury 20 Sag, Mars 20 Aries. Mercury, Mars, fiery communication. Mercury and Sag, big ideas. Mars and Aries. That's your identity, being firm on your identity, you being possibly heated, about something. It could be Mercury, Mars, could be an argument. Mercury, Mars, could you putting your foot down about new ideas that you want to take on and dismissing some of the older ideas. Venus is 28 degrees of Scorpio. Shout to you. You got Venus and Scorpio. You had a Venus return recently. Yeah. Venus and Scorpio, 28 degrees. Saturn in Jupiter in Capricorn, 28 degrees. Venus 28, Jupiter 28. Venus is relationships. Jupiter's expansion. Venus is resources. Jupiter's a lot. You want to tap in, and Scorpio's other people's money and resources. Capricorn is business. You want to tap in like that. Venus sextile Jupiter. Tap in, get some investments going. Venus is relationship. Scorpio is ending. Jupiter and Capricorn, Saturn, Capricorn at the end is karma. Maybe you're dealing with the ending of a relationship due to some karma. I don't know. I'm just telling you the many different ways that these particular transits can play out and manifest. This is all going on tomorrow during the new moon. So not just the new moon. In astrology, there's a lot of stuff going on all the time. So you want to think about that. The new moon is squaring Neptune. Neptune, of course, is illusions. Neptune, of course, is fantasies, is dreams. It involves the north and south node. The north node is your future. The south node is your past, and not just, it could be your past as in 2 weeks ago, it could be a past as in 10 lifetimes ago. But the nodes are involved. So that means that the action you take, Sagittarius, new moon, this is fire signs, actions, it's involving your destiny. Anytime we deal with the nodes, we're talking about destiny. So this is a lot to download. Maybe you don't have a pen and paper. Maybe you have a great memory and you're just listening to what I'm saying and you can memorize this. But these are some of the things that are happening tomorrow while we're having the eclipse. So it's just, I know it's a lot to process, but.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Lady. I really appreciate you. And I want to say I really appreciate you too, Marina. I thank you guys both very much for coming on the show and giving your predictions for the 2021 winter solstice, and also giving your predictions about the solar eclipse. And also the young lady, Miss Kateria. I loved her too. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to close out this show. And we're going to have Needles go ahead and bust it up on the ones and twos. And I appreciate you ladies for being on my lap. I definitely will bring you guys back.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
How did they reach you? How did they reach you? How do people reach you? Can you hear me?
I was waiting for her to go.
No, you go first.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I'm definitely on Instagram. I am on Facebook as well. Not as active on Facebook, but I would recommend, if you want to reach out to me, Tiye Phoenix. I don't know if I can type. I can't find a way to type my name in the chat. But I'm definitely, if you look on Isis page, my name is on the flyer that we posted today. You can reach out to me there. And again, I recommend everybody in the entire world to get a natal chart reading. Find out your blueprint that you came in this life with when you were born, and what you're walking with, and what is unfolding every day in your life, whether you're aware of it or not. So I recommend you can hit me up for that. And yeah, just DM me. We'll talk. I love talking about it.
Marina, how do they find you?
So I'm on Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon, all the same name, at The Global Black Girl. On YouTube, I am The Global Black Girl. On Patreon, where I have my shadow work series, I have ancestral work series. We talk about all kinds of esoteric things over there. On my Instagram, I do live readings on most Mondays, not all. If you would like to get in touch with me for spiritual coaching, or if you'd like a tarot reading, my basic knowledge of self and advanced knowledge of self, I look at the blueprint. Your astrology is your blueprint. It's really, really important. If you decide you want to add a bathroom or knock down a wall, you need to know where your stuff is. So I incorporate that with my tarot readings as well. And I'm on, like I said, Instagram. I'm not really on Facebook. I do post there sometimes. My website is The Global Black Girl. So you can always just click the book now button or send me a DM or email me at theglobalblackgirl@gmail.com.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate y'all. Needles, go ahead and take us right on up out of here, fam.